One. Hey, what's up, Cairo Sushi Samurai? I finally, after weeks of sharing the Cooper Reviews content, which you guys have all fallen in love with, it's gotten the most responses. Actually, Sarah, earlier today or yesterday, I sent out an email with your 10 tricks to appear smarter, and I had the most responses ever going. This was exactly what I needed. So thank you for giving some light and love out there with your content. We have Sarah Cooper live with us in Cairo Sushi Samurai. How are you doing? And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
So I've been a huge fan of your work for a little bit now because I came from the startup scene and my family's in chiropractic, but I cut my teeth in San Francisco, and I saw, as part of a software as a service company, I saw your content one day. I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly what I've been saying. And it was just the truth. And I'm going, this woman's a genius. So tell us about where you came from and your background and how the hell you got to be this funny, kind of tech queen of Silicon Valley for humor.
Well, I always loved comedy, and I loved I've done stand-up comedy for 9 years, and my original love was acting, but I always just loved performing and making people laugh. And I wasn't having much success with it until I sort of combined that with all of my experience in the corporate world. And so I've, been on and off in the corporate world for the past 15 years or whatever. So my last stint was at Google, and I was there for almost 4 years. And it was there that I finally wrote an article that combined comedy with The Office and with meetings. And that was my 10 tricks to appear smart in meetings. And it was really just observations. It was really, people are like, what's the secret sauce of, making people laugh? And being honest and saying what everyone's thinking, or saying what everyone has seen but no one has said out loud, that's the secret sauce. I mean, it's really nothing more than just being as honest as you possibly can be. And so from there, I started the Cooper Review, and I kept writing more about my experience in the corporate world and in meetings and being a manager and being an employee and all that stuff.
So was Google
really
was Google that place where you would actually bang your head on the desk and think of stuff like, I can't believe a place with that innovation and that kind of brain cell count, or that genius there would be that mundane. But is it every corporate world just the same, I guess?
I think if you have a place that you have to go, and you have to go there for a period of time, and you're being paid to do what you're always going to run into the same problem of feeling like you're kind of pretending, feeling like, you're being paid to say things, basically. Google was definitely different in that people were okay with saying that out loud. Everyone there is really self-aware. I think at a lot of other places you have to drink the Kool-Aid and you can't mention the fact that we're all kind of playing this part. Whereas at Google, we're like, okay, we think this is sort of cool, but we don't really know. And we were okay with making fun of ourselves, which was why I was able to publish that while I was still at Google, because I was scared people were going to think I was making fun of my coworkers, which is exactly what I was doing. I was making fun of them, but they loved it. They wanted me to make fun of them even more. So I think that's the slight difference between Google and everywhere else, is that, yes, it's still a corporate world, but people are okay with saying, yes, this sucks,
What would make meetings better? Because even in our world, we do meetings and seminars. Like the big thing in our circuit is seminars. It's and they kind of tend to be all the same thing. What if you had this magic wand and you said, okay, this would make it so much better and so much easier, and just what would that look like to you from a meeting or a seminar? Because I'm sure you've done seminars all over too, being in the corporate world.
Yeah, I mean,
just infuse tequila everywhere, or no?
I mean, alcohol always helps. I mean, you can't go wrong with alcohol. Food, cupcakes, pizza, any of that stuff always helps. But I think for me, the mundane weekly meetings where you just kind of knew what was going to happen and you just had an expectation, and so you turned your brain off because you just felt like, okay, I've seen this a million times. So anything to get out of making people think they're going to get the same thing. So I would start my meetings a little bit differently every time, or I would end them a little bit differently, or I would put something in the middle that was a little bit different, just to escape the fact that everybody had just turned their brains off and was just kind of like going through it robotically, like anything to make them like wake up and say, oh, this is different. Anything like that, I think helps meetings.
Yeah, we have questions coming from. We actually have people watching live, and I have a couple questions that I'll get to in a second. But what was your roles like? What's your background for actually in the corporate world? Is it marketing?
I was a user experience designer, and then I was managing the user experience design for Google Docs.
Oh, cool. So I have a lot of complaint. No, I'm just joking.
No,
I
everybody
actually
does.
don't.
Trust me.
It's actually the most user one of the most user. It's so simple and easy. I mean, I don't know how anyone could ever complain about that. But I wanted I wanted to ask you about your actual stand-up comedy because you've gone out there now. You've done stand-up comedy. What was the shift, and what did you need to kind of propel yourself? Because you said it wasn't really working. Where did you struggle, and how did you get yourself out of that struggling mode? Maybe something to, from a standpoint of inspiring some of our less confident samurai that are watching.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I always just talk myself out of it because I just told myself, oh, this isn't going to be worth it. This is going to be a waste of time. I'm going to fail. No one's going to laugh. I'm going to bomb. I just kind of talked myself out of it a lot. Um, but then I realized, like, even if it sucks, just doing it is a win. So like talking myself out of it, like that's already failure. So if I'm scared of failing, like I don't have to do anything to fail because like if you don't do it, you failed. So that kind of like helped me realize that like just finishing something, just trying it, just going through with it is part of the success. And so yeah, I mean, I think that I kind of got over the hump of putting myself out there that way. But it's a daily struggle. It's always that voice in your head that's like, am I wasting my time? Should I just be doing something else? Should I be doing what everyone else is doing? That kind of stuff.
I get, yeah. I feel like Fox called you yet and said let's look at a pilot? Is that something that you're looking because of that? I mean, it's like The Office meets Silicon Valley. I mean, there could be a whole show with a female lead, and maybe you get Mindy Kaling to play. No, you get to play yourself. You get Mindy Kaling to be
I would love Mindy to play that, but yeah, no, I'm working on that. That's like my dream. My ultimate dream is to turn this into something that's narrative. That's more of a story.
I feel like that's where it's going to go, and that's what it needs to go. Because I wanted to ask you about this. Content on the Cooper Review, overall, the people that we've been sending out, because kind of saying, Sharon, hey, this is just a kind of a snapshot of who we are. We're trying to bridge the gap between entrepreneurs and chiropractic, make chiropractic cool. And I shared your content out kind of on a couple different distribution channels, and all the responses are like, this is so phenomenal. But you have so much content. Like, I know some of the people that are producing content in our world would want to know the question is like, what is your content strategy? Do you just go lock yourself away in a room? Like, how do you get so much out? And it seems like, in quick time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't put out as much as I should be putting out. So it never feels like you're putting out very much. But I just keep a running list of ideas so that like if you sit down to a blank screen, it's overwhelming and I mean, for me, that was really, really hard to just sit down to a blank screen and try to come up with ideas. And so I realized the secret to that is not do that. Come up with your ideas when you're taking a walk or when you're watching the TV or when you're at dinner, and then write them down so that when you sit down to come up with ideas, you're starting from a list of all these ideas that you came up with in the past week or month or year. And that's kind of helped me, keep my creative juices flowing. And recently, a few months ago, I started accepting contributions from other people. So a lot of different people are writing now for the Cooper Review. And so that has helped a lot as well.
Where do you think, this question from Dr. Bones, my partner in Kairos Sushi, where do you think most people miss the mark when it comes to trying to be funny?
I think that is where they miss the mark, when they try to be funny. When someone tries to be funny, you can tell immediately, and it's not funny. So I always say, try to be honest. Don't try to be funny. If you're telling a story, tell the story. Don't say, oh, where can I put in a punchline, or where can I put in a cool reference, or where can I be really clever here? People see right through that. So just be as honest as you possibly can be, and you'll be surprised at how funny it will be if you just be as honest as possible.
Do you think healthcare you can be funny in and or express humor to make the experience better? Is there crossing the line? I mean, what's your feelings on that?
I think there's probably some crossing the line. You know, there's some things you probably are sensitive that you don't want to make fun of. But if you are relating back to people their experiences, their true experiences, it can be funny and it can make them say, oh, they get it. You know, they get what I'm going through and they see that this is a problem or that this experience happens. And I think that it's a really good way to relate to your audience. And again, going back to being honest, if you're just saying like, hey, this is what happens, you can't be accused of being insensitive because you're just pointing out something that's true, you know? So I think that
Yeah.
that's another way to get around it.
You have four steps. I mean, I obviously have done my due diligence. I watched some of your talks. What's your four? It's being honest is obviously the key
Yeah.
recipe. But there's a couple other ingredients, right? You talk about what are the three other ingredients that you usually talk about creating kind of becoming more humorous in your overall content and overall life, I guess.
Yeah, well, this is specifically for creating online content, but
Perfect.
a few other things were basically if you create like a how-to type article, but instead of like being honest about the how-to, you're being honest about exactly the steps that people go through. Like for example, I wrote an article about how to share your political opinions on Facebook, which is, you know, a horrible, like you never want to do that. So, but the steps are not on it. They're not real. They are like you wake up, you see something that you absolutely hate, you cry in your bed, you know, you walk around, you like talk to your husband about it. Like, so if you take the steps that are the real how-to steps and change them to what honestly happens, that's another good way to like bring out humor. And then it's kind of like the satire of like, oh, I'm being helpful, but I'm not really being helpful because these aren't the steps. These are just what actually happens when I try to do something.
We were
So
thinking
that's
about writing
one.
a book. Yeah, we were thinking about writing a book called "The 33 Ways to Destroy Your Practice in 10 months." Like going the exact opposite. And so
Yes.
that's a great nugget. I want to ask you about writing your book, and you wrote it at Google. We have the links. Actually, for this, we'll have the links in the comments. For the later recordings, you guys will be watching with the links above to get Sarah's book. It's amazing. Can you share some of the smart things you can do to appear smarter in a meeting that are not on the blog that maybe one or two that are in the book?
Yeah, sure. One of my favorite ones is interrupt someone and then let them finish, which is also called the Kanye. And so basically, if someone's giving their update, you can say, "Whoa, slow down there, Jack. Can I just stop you there for a second? Everyone, Jack is about to say something really important, and I think we should all really pay attention to this. Okay, Jack, go ahead, continue." And so that just makes you look like you're getting everyone's attention for Jack and, you know, giving him the floor. So it makes you look very powerful, like you're in control of the meeting.
I
I really
get
like
it.
that one. Yeah, and you don't really have to know anything to do that one. Another great one is to ask someone to stay behind in the meeting. So if everyone's leaving, just be like, "Oh, can I just see you for a second?" And that'll just make everyone think that you're talking about something really important when no one else is there, and they'll wonder what it is you have going on up your sleeve. And so that's another good one. A lot of these are basically just to like kind of psychologically play tricks on your coworkers into thinking that you're doing something that you're really not doing.
Well, you're doing awesome stuff. I'm so grateful for you give us some time today. I wanted to ask you lastly, because in our industry, there's been a huge push over the last year to get more female speakers, more female mentors. I've noticed content on the Cooper Review kind of there's a little bit of, I don't want to say a lean, but there's been some, I guess, expression of, hey, especially the one I was reading the other day about how a female can appear. I get it was like a
Less
nine-step,
threatening.
yeah, non-threatening. Yeah, I thought it was genius, is right, non-threatening in a situation. And obviously, you're also involved in the entertainment, and we have the Weinstein stuff that came out. This is a really interesting time for women in their careers. What for our female chiropractors that are coming out, we're now 50% of the profession. Now, this is a huge deal. This is big. What do you tell young women out there, whether it's in whatever profession, what would you say to them to empower them to just kick ass and own their domain and just be as badass as you are?
I think the biggest thing is there's so many people saying you need to do this. You know, a lot of people are saying here are the rules for women. Like here's what you need to do. I think the biggest thing was like, here you need to smile more, or you need to be more, you know, helpful. Like there's all these things about like, well, this is what you should do. And I think that when women start to follow those rules, we get really confused and we start to not be ourselves. And
Yeah.
so then we're kind of trying to like follow this master list of everything that we should do in order to get ahead in the world. And then we end up not being authentic. And then that kind of sabotages us. And so I think the biggest thing I would say is stop following those rules. Like if you feel like smiling, smile. If you do not feel like smiling, don't smile. Like if you just be as real as you possibly can be, and don't be apologetic if, you know, someone wants you to smile. That's their problem, you know, things like that. I
Yeah.
think if you can just kind of forget all of those rules, throw them out the window and just be yourself, I think that that's the most important thing. And then also, if you can help, you know, if you see another woman like kind of struggling, I think that was the biggest thing for me, is just having other women in the office that kind of I could, you know, talk to about things or feel like they were on my side, you know. So I'd say those are the two things I would say.
You're awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us some time. Guys, I encourage you to order on Amazon the book. It's awesome. I encourage you to bookmark the cooperreview.com because it's just fantastic. It's one thing I wake up for. It's that TechCrunch and obviously our own stuff. Your future looks so bright. I can't wait to see your show because that was my whole, like, my guts tell me she's gonna have a show out there one day, and anything that would be awesome. So cheers to you, and thank you so much for giving us some time today.
Thank you. This was awesome.
All right, be well. Thanks, guys. Bye.